Hi everyone. So in this session, we're going to learn how to convert the major scale into the minor pentatonic scale. And some of the same ideas apply in terms of the simplicity of converting them, but we're really kind of in different territory. First of all, we are fully into the minor uh, uh, scale, although we're only playing 5 of the notes, which, as you'll recall from our piano session, is the first, third, fourth, fifth, seventh, and go back to the eighth root note tones of the scale. You're excluding the second and sixth notes of the scale. So that actually helps the Dorian mode and the minor pentatonic scale align nicely, because recall, in the Dorian mode we don't flatten the sixth, and in the minor pentatonic scale we don't play the sixth. So we're good. The thirds and the sevenths are flattened. The rest of the notes we're playing are natural, so I'll get to that in a minute. But you can fit your minor pentatonic scale into your Dorian mode scale perfectly without any kind of deviation, which can be kind of fun to go back and forth sometimes. I wouldn't do it too much. So, but first I want to talk about, again, starting with kind of our conceptualization of where we are with our major scale, and staying that position and then playing the minor pentatonic scale instead. And so here I want to give you another graphic, and this is the fingering positions of the minor pentatonic scale. And hopefully you love my smudges. I don't know where those came from. Had this for a while. But anyway, I'm going to leave this up here for a minute so you can maybe take a screenshot. But this is the fingering patterns for your minor pentatonic. And I'm going to start, I'm going to reference these numbers here, which are different patterns than I was referring to before in terms of the major, Mixolydian, and Dorian modes, and the patterns there, like the first fingering pattern, second fingering pattern. They're different for minor pentatonic. Sorry about that. But take good heed of those patterns, learn them, but my point here is to show you how to translate kind of in your mind from where you are on the board from a major scale to the minor pentatonic. So that was a long roll up. It's like this. So we're going to start with our A, and we're going to start with the first position fingering pattern that corresponds to the G shape. And here's that major scale. Okay, and so to convert that to the minor pentatonic, we're going to go from what was the first finger pattern in our major scale series of patterns to the fifth pattern in the minor pentatonic pattern of scales. So you're going to have to remember what these patterns are, unfortunately, but you can do it. And that transition, as was kind of the case with our sort of simple method for Mixolydian and Dorian, works at all the different positions on the fretboard. So when you're and I'll demonstrate this, when you're in the second position that corresponds to the E shape in the major scale, you go to the first minor pentatonic position, and you're playing the minor pentatonic in the same spot. So again, major scale. Here's the fifth finger pattern for the minor pentatonic. Okay, so that was the pentatonic, and you can, you're immediately Stevie Ray Vaughan or whatever, because pretty much every rock song ever uses that minor pentatonic. So that was in the first position for the major scale, going to the fifth fingering pattern for the minor pentatonic. We're going to go to the second position or fingering pattern for the major scale, which corresponds to the E shaped chord for the major scale, not the minor scale. But just for reference, that's where we are. And now we're going to play the first finger pattern for the minor pentatonic. Root, root. There it is. Okay, so that's the minor pentatonic stemming from the second fingering pattern and position of the major scale going to the first fingering pattern of the minor pentatonic. And here I want to show you this relationship between the minor pentatonic and the Dorian. And I'm not going to show it here but you can again go to the third position of the major scale, and just change your fingering pattern to the second pattern for minor pentatonic using the same root note of A, and you're playing minor pentatonic. Okay, and same for the fourth position of the major scale, go to the third pattern for the pentatonic, fifth fingering pattern and position corresponds to the A shape for the major scale, go to the fourth fingering pattern for the minor pentatonic on that document that you're going to memorize. And you know, if you know where your root note is, in this case A, then you can play your major scale, and per the previous pieces of this session, you can do, or this series, you can do your Mixolydian, you can do your Dorian, and you can do your minor pentatonic. Now I just want to take one extra minute here to show you how the pentatonic scale fits comfortably within the Dorian mode. So I'm going to start with our second position from the major scale, and recall to make that Dorian we play the third fingering pattern. Okay, that was Dorian, and here's the minor pentatonic. Okay, and so those notes are all contained within the Dorian mode. So those are the 1, 2, 3 notes of the scale for Dorian, 1, 3 for the pentatonic. See if I can do this. So 4, 5 for the Dorian mode, and 4, 5 for the pentatonic. 6, 7, 8 for the Dorian mode. And remember, we're not playing the 6th note in the pentatonic scale, so we leave that out and just play the 7 and the 8, or back to the 1, the A, 1 octave higher your root note. Okay? That was pentatonic. That was Dorian. And I could keep going, but I don't want to take more time because it's the same. No matter where you are. So your pentatonic shape will fit into your Dorian mode scale all the time. So that's the crux of, the main focus of this session was to explain how to convert your major scale fingering pattern to your pentatonic scale fingering pattern. And you do that by taking the fingering pattern that you're in and going to one lower in the pentatonic fingering pattern. So for the second position fingering pattern, you go to the 1 pattern for the pentatonic. For the third position, you go to the 2 pattern for the pentatonic. At that first position, again, in both cases, there's only 5 patterns, so you go back to the 5th pattern for the pentatonic, which is where we started this video. And there you go. No matter where you are, if you kind of have a feeling for where you are with regard to the major scale, you can start jamming on the pentatonic scale. And that's going to be it for now, and I hope this has been helpful. Feedback and comments are extremely invited and welcome, and maybe we'll do something else another time, but I feel like this is the main thing that I wanted to share is the ease of conversion between the major scale, the Mixolydian mode, the Dorian mode, and the minor pentatonic scale, just using the same kind of basic fingering patterns, with the exception of the minor pentatonic, which has a different fingering pattern, but still sort of correlates to the positioning of those other scales and modes. So thank you. Take care.